Hey everybody, this is Tammy Van Hollander, and I'm so excited to have Althea Simpson here today. I've been following Althea's work for a while and has done such amazing work, and there were so many different things I wanted to reach out with you today, Althea. But one that I just kept thinking, and we chatted a little bit about this before coming on today, was foster care and really looking at how this pandemic is really affecting foster children. And I worked in foster care for a long time, and I've just been thinking so much about these kiddos and these parents, the ones who are working so hard for reunification,
Yes.
and now backtracking and really worried about those moms as well, of how are they going to get out of that hole when their only hope was to see those kids to be able to get them back. So I'm sure there's a lot you have to say about that, but I just think it's so important for us to be talking about this population and really how at risk they are right now more than ever.
Yes, definitely. The foster care population is a unique population. And actually, for me, it's professional and personal because I've mentioned it over the year or over a year or so that I raised my three nephews to keep them out of foster care. And so this population and seeing their challenges, but it's not just the children, it's the adults as well. You have the parents, you have the foster parents. It's just a whole different dynamic. And the children is right there in the center of that. So they have to deal with the emotions of the foster parent. They have to deal with the emotions of their biological parents. They have to deal with the conflict between the foster parents and the biological parents. So, and then right now, with telehealth and not telehealth, but the whole move to tele sessions and stuff. A lot of foster kids are not able to visit their biological parents and family in person. So getting them to shift to videos like this to have their visits, but that connection is still, this is a great way to connect, but that physical connection is not there. Some of the kids that long for the hold of their biological parent, they can't get that. So there are a lot of that's dysregulated, a lot of anxiety and just not knowing what's going on for them right now.
I would think that would be super hard when I'm thinking about the kids that I had in foster care and doing visits with their parents, and that
Yes.
they would be often so dysregulated, and they'd have so many different feelings about their parents, and really working hard to hold that space for them and that safe space. And I could see there being some like avoidant behavior and this
Yes.
discomfort with the screen,
Mm-hmm.
making it harder than what we're doing in terms of just connecting with our other like teleplay therapy cases. It's very easy to connect with them when they've had solid attachments, but when there is
Yes.
that dynamic between the parent and the child, and can the child accept that it's the virus, that's why I'm not seeing mommy or daddy, or
Yes.
are is it because mommy and daddy's drinking, or are they in jail, and what are the other things, and for them to really believe what's really happening, because they've probably been told many stories over the years.
Absolutely. And it's sometimes you have the biological parents who are available and want to do the visits, and then you have some that are not. So at least with the schedule, not even having those visits scheduled. So it was a 50-50 chance if the visit was scheduled that mom and dad would show up. I know I have to go to the building for my visit because that's just how social services is set up. You still take the child to whatever location the visit is going to be, and there's a 50-50 chance. But now that there's a 0% chance of showing up to see the families, or if my parent going to show up because they can't even go to the social services building or to the park or wherever their visits were.
Right. So how is this showing up for the kids?
Showing up very dysregulated. A lot of what I've been seeing is a lot of pushback with the foster parents and the behaviors, the non-compliant behaviors, or even the isolative behaviors. But the biggest thing is that dysregulation and the grief of not being able to connect, because it's not, sometimes the visits are not just with the biological parent, it's with the biological family. And especially when you have siblings that's broken up in different homes, they're split up in different homes, even those visits are not happening. So it's a lot of grief that's there, and not the loss of connection, not being able to see their family members, irritability, not being able to go to school. So that's what I'm seeing that's showing up.
Are many agencies doing virtual visits, like sibling visits and parent visits? Is that happening?
Well, I don't know if many agencies are doing it, but I know a few of the counties here in Northern Virginia are definitely doing the virtual visits.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a piece that I hadn't really even thought about. So
Mhm.
that's really helpful. I just think it's so important for us. I've been interviewing so many people, and the theme of everything is grief. Grief
Yes,
for everyone. And I think some people who are more privileged feel guilty about their grief,
yes,
maybe not going to the gym or not,
yes,
and but grief is grief, and how we have to sit with it and look at
absolutely.
all the different pieces of grief. So
Yes.
I would love to, though, kind of weave in, because I think it's awesome, and I'd love to have hours with you, and I'll have to go to one of your trainings, because you do Lego play therapy, and which is
Yes.
even cooler about, like, I thought, okay, it couldn't be cooler, but it is cooler because you do Lego play therapy for adults, which
Yes.
is totally awesome. So could
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about that, and maybe weave that into the foster care as just like maybe a way that we can learn more about it and get more access to it?
Okay, so I am a certified Lego serious play facilitator, and that's a business strategy, design strategy model. So it was developed for organizations, team building, professional development, and those things. So when I was doing the training, but my mind kept going back to how I could use this in therapy, and I had to keep redirecting my focus to the business part. And I was like, oh, I can do this in therapy. So it's already a design strategy model for adults in organizations. So it wasn't that difficult to implement it in my psychotherapy practice with adults. And even with foster care, I have foster parents who look at me like, you want me to do what? And I did a session with a foster parent, and we did it's called a color block or a color wheel, where they did the different colors, like you pick one color and you build a model, and then you tell a story about it, because Legos is really about storytelling and metaphors. And so they told a story, and then just talking about the behaviors of having to deal with the behaviors now that they're home more, because the kids are usually, even if they were working from home, the kids would still be in daycare. But now they're home more and not getting that space. So even having them to build those models and have that space to talk about their emotions, because they have to be well in order to make sure that the children are well and stuff. So they need that space too. And oftentimes, adults, it's frowned upon them to talk, where people think they're talking negatively about children, but they're not talking about the children. They're talking about the behaviors and their experiences. And we have to validate that for them, because that's important too. Their experiences are just as important, and their emotions and feelings and everything is just as important as the children. And, the kids come in and they think that the foster, hey, I'm just going to love and support this child and everything's going to be okay. But that's not the case. And so when that world is upset, for the foster parents, and a reality sets in, like, I'm feeding them, I'm giving them a place, I'm loving them, I'm holding them, it has nothing to do with that. It's their trauma, their loss of connection, their dysregulation, but it's still very valid and real, the experiences that the foster parents are having, and they need a safe place to process that as well. So I provide that for them, and I'm just fortunate enough to be able to work not only with the child, but the biological parents and the foster parents, right? I hold that space for all of them and give them a safe place to let out without judgment their experiences. And they don't have to worry about, you know, a lot of them are afraid to let out their emotions and stuff because they don't know if it's going to get back to social services, and if it's going to affect their case or the placement of the child and stuff. So for me, that's very important to be able to have those individual relationships with all three for them to be able to express their frustrations and being and so it's when I say it's personal and professional for me, I was that parent who had a dysregulated child that was like, what in the world? Because he came to me when I was still working at the American Psychiatric Association. I wasn't in this field when my nephews came to live with me. 2 years later, I transitioned into this field. So I had to deal with it, and it was like, what is going on? So I understand, but they need to be able to let that out. And Legos, using the Legos is a way to do that because it's storytelling and metaphors, and they can stay, and I stay in that metaphor. And then if they bring it into real life for them, then that's what we process as well.
That's awesome. And I would also guess that many of the families that you are doing this with, and we're
Mhm.
looking at adults and we're looking at trauma, there's been
Yes,
cases that they didn't have play. You know, Sue
yes,
Brown, who did the National Institute of Play and did all these play histories and really looked at significant deficits of play
yes.
for many kids and people who've been traumatized. So bringing that play and that safe psychological distance for them is like
Mhm.
such a gift. I mean, they're so lucky to have you, and you're such a gift to be able to be doing this work.
Yes. And even with adult play therapy, just like with children, the challenges show up in adults play as well.
Right.
It shows up as well. And then we address it, you know, and process it, or we hold it, or we put it in a box. Sometimes I tell them, put it in a box and put it on a shelf. You
Right.
know, when you're ready to take it off the shelf, then we'll address it.
Right. Right. Althea, thank you. This was so helpful. Just listening, and it's just been so on my mind, and just thinking about like, and I hadn't even thought about like the virtual sibling sessions or just
Yes.
in general. And there's just been a part of my heart and thinking about all the kids that I've worked with in foster care and in general
Mhm.
of like, I need to like reach out or do something, and just talking
Yeah.
to you, it's just so helpful. So I'm going to do some links below, but where can people find you and even find out about this Lego training, which I would love to take?
Well, they can find me Althea Simpson on Facebook, Althea Simpson Biz on Instagram, and they can always go to www.unicornlifetraining.net, and that's where all of my training workshops are listed.
I love the title. And I love your shirt of play
Oh
therapy.
yeah, my unicorn. I just think play therapy is so magical. But I designed this shirt, you know, some years ago, where the hand actually represents me as the therapist, and holding the unicorn are
Oh,
my and so, and they are all unique and magical and mystical and stuff. But I'm holding everything that they bring into therapy with me. And plus the hearts is, I love play therapy. So I had to have hearts on there.
oh, Althea, I love that.
Represent.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're very similar, I think, in terms of our passion. And
Yeah.
like I like feel your passion coming through the screen. I'm so grateful that you took this time to come chat with me. And I'm so excited that we finally have connected and
Yes.
hopefully
Yes.
do more stuff in the future and connect more.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me, Tammy. And thank you for doing these videos. I think that you're reaching a lot of people who are, you know, unsure in these times, a lot of professionals who are unsure, and bringing on professionals. A video, it could be a word or a phrase or anything that can give other mental health professionals what they need to keep trying until we figure this thing out together. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Althea. Be well. Take care.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.